this new edition. For tonight's headlines, we have a high-level meeting at the Prime Minister's office to follow up on the President Anglais' commitment during his regional tour. For the international scene, WHO announces the resumption of clinical trials on hydroxychloroquine. Welcome to our newsroom. The Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed held meetings this morning to follow up on the grievance expressed during the President's towers of the interior regions. This meeting follows the meeting chaired by the Head of State, His Excellency Anglais, to ensure that adequate response are quickly given. Each department was asked to formulate as soon as possible the actions already undertaken, those that will be carried out in the short and medium term. It was also planned to set up a mechanism to monitor the implementation of this commitment of the President of the Republic. Almost all the ministers of the various departments concerned were invited to this meeting chaired by Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Saleh Benita Turab, made up the press briefings on the day of Thursday, 4 June 2020. 1,274 tests performed, 119 cases positive to COVID-19, 49 cases cured, and 0 deaths. As far as for the global assessment of the epidemic is concerned, it is declining as follows: 33,492 tests were performed, 4,054 cases positive to COVID-19, 1,605 cases cured, and 26 deaths in total. We remind the population to call on 1517 in case of symptoms. Stay vigilant, protect yourself, and protect others. Under the chairmanship of Honorable Abdurrahman Awale Yassin, the member of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, enlarged to include the committee in charge of production and trade, met on Thursday, June, to examine the draft law 87E and 20 on the ratifications of the financing convention for the purchase of refined petroleum product. This collegial formation of commission took place in the presence of the Minister of Energy in charge of natural resources, Yunus Ali Gedi, accompanied by his main collaborator at the Minister and the attached institutions. After an instructive and adequate of the relevance, they said texts on the scope of the projected new provisions on the expected impact on the latter. The audience pronounced itself is in favor of the transmission of this agreement in public sessions. Following yesterday's statement of the Ministers of Energy, the reductions in charges in energy bills, the director of EDD, Jama Ali Gele, made a statement on the modalities of implementation. He said, I think you had confirmations yesterday with the statement by the Minister of Energy, but I would like to extend my sincere greetings to our kind customers for having responded massively to the arrangements put in place at the People's Palace and during the confinement in the various banks counters to pay the energy bills. First of all, the President of the Republic has been thinking and reducing energy expenses for households since the beginning of the confinement. He was the first to ask us for the data and detailed report on energy consumptions, which we gave him as soon as possible. This quickly led to the decisions to reduce household energy bills by 13,000, representing a wide range of 94% of customers. The costs of these reductions will be partly charged to the national budget and the other part will be borne to EDD. The effort made by the President of the Republic to finalize the political will has been decisive. This means that for our part, we will quickly put into the practice these decisions of the Harf state in order to transfer the 30,000 to the EDD customers account. It will be effective as next Sunday, according to the conceptions of each one. It can vary from a fuel bill, sometimes two bills, and for the others from half a bills, in short of reductions of 30,000. For all the others, it should first be stressed that this reduction is egalitarian measures in all respects, affected by the maximum numbers of subscribers and following the government's effort to show solidarity with the population after 2 months of confinement. This decision is also accompanied by reductions in the payment that was due after only one invoice following the presidential payment, the spread over two invoices, and can be purchased in several installments at the request of the customers. The Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity, Ms. Muna Osman Aden, received in her cabinet Ms. Stephanie Deviot, the head of the missions of the International Organization for Migration Office in Djibouti. On this occasion is an inventory of the cooperation between the Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity and the International Organization for Migration was carried out, and the prospect for their development were discussed. The Minister of Agriculture, Water, Fishing and Livestock in charge of fishery resources has granted this morning to the offices of Road of Djibouti 25 motorized tanks of 1,600 liters to facilitate the maintenance and waterings of trees that the office leads in the capital and interior regions. For this purpose, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Ibrahim Elmi Mohammed, handed over the key of this motorcycle to the Deputy Directors of OVD, Mr. Muhammad Noor Mahmoud, during a ceremony held inside the OVD technical base is located in the District 6 in the presence of the Director of Agriculture and Forestry, Mr. Mukhtar Mahmoud Wabiri. This initiative comes within the framework of the realizations of the President's vision, within which is to make 2020 a year of massive planting through the country. The Deputy Directors of the EVT, Muhammad Noor Mahmoud, explained in his speech that this motorcycle will play an important role in the development of green spaces in the country. For his part, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Ibrahim Elmi Mohammed, said that this gesture aims to facilitate the work of watering, which are led by the OVD. The Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, received this morning in his office at the General Staff of the Armed Forces, Major General Michael Turello, the standing commanders of the Joint Task Forces for the Horn of Africa, General Michael Turello, assumed the command of these forces on 12 June 2019, created in October 2002, in the aftermath of the 11 September 2001 attacks. Joint Task Forces Horn of Africa aims to enhance the capabilities of partner country, promote regional security and stability, and deter conflict, accompanied by its staff. This farewell visit was an opportunity to highlight the cooperative relations and strategic partnership between the two armies. It was also an opportunity to introduce the new rising commanders-in-chief in the forces, Major General Lapta Flora. During this discussion, the Chief of the General Staff, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, did not fail to thank General Michael Turello for the effort made in the build-up of the Rapid Interventions Battalion BIR stationed in Djibouti. The United Nations Agency for International Development is organizing a handed over of lot of offices, equipment, supplies to the ADO Association is partner of PRICAD project USAID Djibouti. This event will be carried out by the capacity building project for Djiboutian Association is funded by USAID and executed by FH1 360 within the framework of bilateral cooperation between the United States and Djibouti. PRICAD is strengthening Djibouti's association is working in the education sector to encourage them to become more involved and to work more closely with the MENFOP to improve the educational offers. The association are intervening in the education sectors in Obok in the beneficiaries of a lot of equipment and office supplies in order to strengthen its intervention capacity. On Wednesday, June, PRICAD provide technical assistance to Djiboutian associations to achieve following results. Associations in the education and health sectors benefit from more effective management, and Djibouti association is strengthening their capacity to promote gender access to services for all and protections of vulnerable population. Djibouti's association operate in a more favorable environment. The president of ADO Association, Muhammad Mullah Burhan, has indicated in his speech the association is ADO intervening in the education sector in Obok is the beneficiaries of a lot of equipment and offices supplies in order to strengthen its intervention capacity. We learned that with sadness the death of the late Umar Muhammad Hussein yesterday, Wednesday, June in 3. The deceased had been for 50 years the Imam of the Fathul Mubin Mosque in Wahl Daba, Sheikh Musa. He leaves behind him a widow and 8 children. Following the death of Imam Umar Muhammad, the Ministry of Waqf Properties sends its sincere condolences to the families of the deceased and pray to Allah to welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the international scene, World Health Organization announces the resumption of clinical trials on hydroxychloroquine. WHO announces the resumption of clinical trials on hydroxychloroquine 9 days April. Early, it had suspended then after the publication of studies in the British medical journal, The Lancet, which finally put the flaws given the mortality figures. The WHO Safety Committee felt that the suspension of the trials was unjustified. The steering committee received these recommendations and approved the continuation of all trials, including those using hydroxychloroquine, said Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, WHO Director General. The announcement comes in the wake of a warning published in the British scientific journal The Lancet that important questions remain about the studies published in its pages on 22 May, intends to alert readers. In the wake of its publication, many researchers have expressed doubts about the methodology and data used. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.